developers, we are now going to continue our conversations about operators, and we're going to do so with the comparison operators. So I'm going to open up the 05 comparison file, open this file up in live server. Let me push that over to the right. Let me bring back my little window so we can have some variables set up to work with. So I've set up some strings and some numbers and a Boolean. Okay. Oh, I should have. Let me get rid of these guys because I don't want to talk about those just yet. I want to talk about these top down. So here are our variables, and I'm going to open up the developer tools. Let us first talk about, again, the comparison operators. What are the comparison operators? They are operators that are going to perform, right, evaluate an expression upon one or more operands, right? And so the expression in question that I first want to talk about is I want to compare two strings, right? So comparison operator is going to compare two strings. And here, looking at our code file, what I want to draw your eyes to is the message triple equals message copy. And so I've enabled that here. And so again, let me point this out via my pen here, where the expression is, what the two operands are, so that it can become clear. Here's one operand, here's the other operand, and in the center, here, these three equals, that is the comparison operator. In fact, it's a strict comparison. I'm starting off with the strict as opposed to the not strict comparison operator because I think it's easier to understand it from strict to not strict. So just know that the three equals is the strict comparison. I want to compare not just the value, but I'm going to compare the type. Value and type. So three equals, the strict operator comparison, the strict comparison operator is going to compare the value and type of the operands. On operand, second operand. Okay, so and now together, right? The operator is going to yield, right? The comparison is going to yield. The expression yields a value. So out of this, 1 + 1 = 2. What we're going to yield out of here is actually a Boolean, a true or false. Is one operand equal to the other one? Is A equal to B? And so that is going to yield a Boolean, right? A Boolean is a true or false. And so if we come down here to look at the last variable in the diagram, we see that same message is equal to true. Now, why is it equal to true? Is because message here, and message copy, these two particular guys, message and message copy, I love code. They house the same string value, okay? So this is really important. Now, put this in the back of your mind. When we compare strings, we're going to compare the value of the string. They don't have to be the same exact string. That statement doesn't have a lot of meaning for you right now. But later on, we're going to see that we might have two different objects that, for all intents and purposes, look like they're the same object, but they're not the same object. When we compare strings, we literally are comparing, hey, do I have a string with these number of characters? Is the first character I, followed by a space, followed by a LOVE, followed by a space, followed by CODE, right? Does this string message have that same characters? I love code. These two have yielded true. Now, again, to help you with developer tools, because part of becoming a software developer is learning with your developer tools, here are the command bar. I can say message equal message copy, right? Yeah, and we know that's true. I can actually now look, I can get a preview. Is message equal to other message? Is message, so again, I'm going to say message, the strict comparison operator, is that equal to other message? Right? And so then that yields the expression false. The value that is yielded from that expression is false. The Boolean, right? This is a Boolean. Notice how it's slightly blue as opposed to the text that might be a little gray or black. So message is equal is false, right? So this message does not equal the other message. I can do this not just with variables. I can do this with anything, right? I can write anything in here. And if it doesn't match, it's going to come back as false. However, I can, if I really wanted to, right? I can say message triple equals I love code, and then that says true. Now this is really specific because I put a space in here. It's false, right? Because this string now has this extra character in it, and notice that the preview, little preview underneath there before I hit enter, is telling me that it's not true, right? So if there's an extra space in here somewhere, it's going to yield it that's false, and it could be at the end, at the beginning, it could be in between, right? Because the string for one is not the same string as the other one. Okay, so it has to be the same exact string. So and then loves code. What is love code going to yield for us? So I'm comparing other message. All right, so other message is code loves me. Is that equal to loves code? And that's false. So this expression here is going to yield false, and the other one is going to be, again, it's going to behave as we've seen it up here, where message is message equal to other message, and that came back as false. So I should have two falses here at the bottom of the screen when this reloads. Let's go see this. All right, so we got comparison 2 is false, and then where did my loves code go? Loves code. Oh, it fell out of the screen. Oh no, loves code. Oh. So notice, even though I declared it at the top, I overwrote it. So this is an important thing to discuss that I was going to save for another video. But look, it comes up here. Loves code is initially defined as a string, but then I managed to assign to it a Boolean. So look, if I go in here and I say loves code, notice it comes out a little tiny blue, right? It's not a string, right? If it was a string, let me take over, for example, I'm going to take message, and it says I love code, but I'm going to assign it the value of false. And so now if I spit out message, look, message is actually coming out now with quotes, all right? So we can see that there's a different value here. It actually is a Boolean. Back to JavaScript. JavaScript is not a strongly typed language where the variables, when declared and defined, are declared and defined to be a specific data type. JavaScript is a different type of language where the variables that you declare can change in type. Not only can they change in value, that's what variables are for, to change values potentially, but JavaScript, you can actually take one variable here, loves code. It started out as a string, and I ended up changing it to a Boolean, right? I can do this. Let me hit clear. If I spit out, let's say, team count, right now it's a number, right? If I, for some reason, right, so this is not something you necessarily want to do, but you just have to be aware of, because sometimes you're going to deal with the number 10, and it's actually not a number 10, it's a string 10. It comes in handy every now and then. It's not, again, it's not something that you necessarily want to leverage and take advantage of every single time, as far as taking a variable that you know should be a number and turn it into a Boolean. That's not necessarily what you want to do. You just have to be aware of the behavior in JavaScript. This comes in a little bit more handy when we're dealing with dynamically creating objects and dynamically creating properties on objects. So I'm going to take my team count, and I'm just going to make it, I have 10 members, right? So I could do that, and that's totally fine. So now if I spit out team count, it's a string. It's not a number, it's a string. So that is one of the behaviors of JavaScript that, you know, depending on which camp you fall in, some people like that a lot, some people really hate it. When we interact with this feature of JavaScript not being strongly typed, we are going to interact with that feature, and we're going to leverage that feature all day long when we build up objects and work with object and dynamically creating or maybe removing properties from an object. For now, what I inadvertently did was I changed the type of a variable from a string to a Boolean. And so it's that type that, right, if I said loves code now, if I so here's the danger. If I then hit, let me hit refresh on this. And if I wasn't paying attention, right, I might, somewhere in my code, I might want to say, hey, loves code is equal to, and if we look over here, right, they're all equal to I love code. I might somewhere write logic based on the assumption that, hey, I got a string here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to have a message that's similar to the variable, the value that's pointed to by message. I might have that, and I'm going to inadvertently yield an expression, a value that I wasn't expecting because I changed a string to a Boolean. So this is the strict comparison operator. You can do this now. I've done this now with strings, right? If I now, let's go and do this now with has the same people. So is the coach count equal to the player count, right? So that I'm just going to do as a Boolean here, has same people, and that's false, right? It's false because, let me use my developer tools here, even though I can see it over here on the left. My player count is 10, and my coach count is 5. So those two numbers are not equal, naturally. So has same people. Notice the naming convention as well. You're going to want Booleans to be called prefix with is, like is smoker, or has, like has same people, is and has. There are other ones like can. All right, prefixes can for Boolean. So I'm comparing numbers. So if I wanted to compare now, let's just say team count. Is team count the same, again, strict comparison on player count? Yes, they are actually the same, right? So because I've done the 3 equals, the player count, it yields an expression of true. So by the way, these expressions that we're working with, we're going to use later on when we start doing control flow, right? So that's why it's important to understand how these building blocks of complex logic later on, how they behave. Because we're going to stack these building blocks together to actually start making software. All right, so team count is equal to player count. What else did I have? Okay, so too many teams. So let's go see what too many teams now is. Another operator here. Again, a little bit from math. Right? In fact, let me put both of these guys in here. Right? Because now we're going to be comparing numbers. So it has same people. That's wonderful. And in fact, let me take some of these comparison operators out of here so that we clear up more of the board. So now we're comparing numbers. So has same people. Here we go. Has same people is false. Too many players. Now, too many players is true. So I've said, too many teams. I've said that the team count is it greater than or equal to 5. Okay, and so the team count, again, is, look, it's up here, it's 10. The team count, hit enter, is 10. So naturally, a team count is it greater than or equal to 5. That yields true, right? That's the true that we have here. So again, more about the comparison. So what if we just said, is team count, we know team count is 10, is team count greater than 10? False. Again, a little bit of math here, but really important to consider when we start doing, specifically, really my concern is around the loops. So because we use the number of items that we want to loop over in our logic to determine when we stop looping. More on that later. So team count is greater than 10. Just to, again, you can play with it in here. You want to use your developer tools to poke at things so that you can see how it behaves. Code definitely has a behavior, especially when you have meaningful amounts of code. So team count greater than or equal to 10, that's true because it's 10. If I say it's 11, it's false. Why is that false? Because again, team count is only equal to 10. So, and again, team count equal 10. Ooh. Yes, that's true. By the way, you can throw negatives in here, right? Because now that's false. I can change team count right? I can remember now back from one of the other files. I can increment it. So now team count is 11, right? And notice how that behaved again. I'm gonna hit the plus plus, plus plus, team count, and I'm gonna get the number 12 because it's gonna add it and then give it back to me. Here's my 12. So I'm spinning down that rabbit hole a little bit. Let me come back now. Is drinking age? Is the drinking age? So is my age greater than or equal to the drinking age, right? So yeah, my age is 25, right? So my age is 25, right there. I'm using my developer tools. And my age is greater than or equal to the drinking age. Yes, it's true. Now the drinking age, if I were to change my age, I'm going to change my age over here. I'm going to change it to, I'm going to assign a value to my age, and I'm going to say I am 20. Boom. So I am 20. So if I hit up arrow to scroll through my list of commands, my age greater than or equal to drinking age, that's false, right? So I'm not of drinking age. Naturally, if I go to a different country where the drinking age might be, I think, 18, now I've changed the drinking age to 18, and my age is greater than or equal to the drinking age. Yes, I'm now able to drink. So here we're evaluating an expression, right? Here's all the expression values that these expressions yielded. This yields an expression and it gets assigned to has same people. This yields an expression, gets assigned to too many teams, and then my age is greater than or equal to the drinking age is assigned to is drinking age. Now, greater than behaves the same way as less than, right? So I'm not going to go into less than, but it's the same thing, but backwards. So that's the comparison. Again, primarily focused on the strict comparison. And before we go into other worlds, I want to show you the not operator. The not operator. If we look at is smoker. So is smoker is true. And then what I've done to is smoker is I made them false, right? How did I make that false? I made that false using this exclamation mark. Okay, some people will refer to that as a bang. Sometimes you'll see, and again, I don't want to cover every single nook and cranny of JavaScript, but sometimes you'll see the double not, and some people will refer to that as bang bang. But the not, right? So I'm not saying not. This is not. The exclamation mark is known as the not operator. Sometimes people refer to it as bang. So the not is smoker. What does the not do? It basically takes this value and it flips it. If it's true, it makes it false. If it's false, it makes it true. So here we have the example that is smoker started out as true. So then I just named this is not smoker because I said not is smoker, right? So if this was true, it makes it false, and that's what we have here. So we can do this with anything. For example, let's come back and take this expression. So here's my expression, is the coach count equal to player count? That's false, right? But if I were to wrap this expression in parentheses, right, because I want to make sure that the order of operations is happening in the correct order, I'm going to say, hey, but I want to flip it, and I want to say true now, right? Now, why would I do that? Why would I say coach count equal player count and then flip it to get back to true? Why would I do that? Because the other thing that I could do is I could say is coach count not equal player count, right? And then that's true as well, right? So the coach count again, if we look at it, the number of coaches we have is 5. And now the number of player we have is that, right? So maybe this isn't a coach count and team count might not be, or player count not appropriate. But it may be a good comparison would to say that, hey, if I have the team count, a team count is 10, and then I have a coach count. If I needed at least one coach per each team, I might want to write an expression that says, hey, is my coach count not equal to my team count, right? So yes, I don't have the same number of coaches as I have teams. I might want to be looking for that, right? And I might want to be looking for that in a positive manner. For example, my logic might say, if my coach count is not equal to my team count, then I need to go and recruit some more coaches, right? That seems like a logical thing to say, as opposed to if I said here, if my coach count is equal to my team count, then, it's time to play ball, right? So that might be a good, depending on the code that I write. So all these steps, these decision points, these expressions, right? It's good to refer to them as decision points because we're going to use these expressions, true or false, to determine whether we go left or right, whether we do action A or we do action B. And this is actually at the heart of, and you've heard this fancy term, algorithm. In software development, we talk about algorithms. And what is an algorithm? In English, it's basically the decisions that we make in our code so that it runs efficiently. And at the heart of these decisions are these simple expressions that yield true and false. Do I go left? Do I go right? Should I do A? Should I do B? And that's all based off of whether I have a false or a true here, coming out of a potential expression. Okay, so my coach count is not equal to my team count. That means I got to go do some work, right? If my coach count is equal to my team count, if that was true, then, it's time to play ball. So the not takes any expression that's true or false, or truthy or falsy. We'll learn about truthy or falsy later, but basically true or false, and it flips it. Okay, it just completely flips it to the opposite. All right. So now let me get rid of some strings from my UI. Let me get rid of this dude. And now let us bring back. In fact, let me bring these guys up here. And what I want to talk about is the strings and numbers. Okay, let me hit refresh here. Let me see what else I got down here. Okay, the strings and numbers. All right, so I have a team count of 10, and then I have team count string. Okay, so let's do what we were talking about, strict comparison. Strict comparison compares value and type. Okay, value and type. So team count string, that I have purposely named very verbosely string, is a string 10. While, where's my team count? Team count is the number 10. So if you were to look at this, if you were to write this down, if I asked you to write down on paper either this value or this value, you would probably write it the same way. You would just write the number 10, no double quotes. And if I asked you to read off the board the characters 1 and 0, you would say that's the number 10. So programmatically, though, those two things are very different. Now let's go and do the team count triple equals the strict comparison on team count string. This is false, right? Because it is strictly comparing a value and type. So if it doesn't find the same type, boom, it's false. If it does have the same type, right? If it does have the same type, like team count is equal to the number 10, sure, that's true. But under strict comparison, it's going to yield false because it's comparing a number to a string. Okay, so that's false. However, if I now change it to 2 equals, not a strict comparison, we get true. Now, why is that? And that's because JavaScript, this is a behavior, a feature. Some people would call this a bug. Again, JavaScript sometimes is a very polarizing language that some people would call this a bug. Some people would call this a feature. It's the behavior of JavaScript. That it is going to take, when you try to compare a string or a number, it's going to take this data type and change it. It's going to coerce it. It's going to try to coerce it. So it's actually called type coercion. And it's going to try and compare number to number. Okay, so the number to number comparison is really important because it'll take the string and it'll compare it, convert it to a number, so that I can yield true. Okay, and so again, that is called type coercion. And the double equals is just a comparison operator, not the strict comparison operator. Most times, pretty much every time you want to do this, you want to be doing the triple equals. There are use cases where the double equals, you might get painted into a corner just because of the framework that you're using, because of the tooling that you're using. When that happens, and you just have to work your way out of it. There's going to be ways that we're going to show you how to work your way out of that. So, but for the time being, be mindful that, am I comparing a number and a string? Am I sure I'm comparing a number to a number? Am I sure I'm comparing a string to a string? And later on, we'll learn how do we take a string and convert it to a number. So that way we know that we have an accurate representation of a number for us to compare to another no number. And so that is and this is valuable and applicable, obviously not just for this variable and this variable. So we said player count, if we did team count, if we did coach count is equal to the coach count. That's false. Because again, the strict comparison operator does not allow us. And now if I did a coach count with only 2, boom, it comes back as true because of type coercion. All right, type coercion also comes into play when we talk about truthy and falsy. So keep an eye out for that as we progress through the rest of these exercises, especially when we get into if statements.